There's a root vegetable you have walked past at the grocery store this week. It costs less than $1. And in a peer-reviewed study published in 2020, a single compound inside it doubled the self-renewal rate of stem cells within 24 hours. Doubling, not increase, doubling. The compound has a name almost nobody knows. It exists in meaningful quantities in only one plant on Earth. The reason you have never heard of it is not that the research was hidden. It is that nobody can make money from it. This is Brain Glitch. Let me show you what your grandmother probably knew without understanding the mechanism, and why science is only now catching up. Tens of millions of American adults are losing active stem cells from their bone marrow every single day. They do not know it. Nobody's going to tell them. Your body is running software that hasn't been updated in 200,000 years. The system is designed to keep you alive long enough to reproduce. What happens after that is not evolution's problem. At 25, you had a certain number of these cells. By 50, you have lost almost half of them. By 60, it is 73%. That is not just a statistic. That is the reason wounds heal slower. It is also the reason your energy does not come back the way it used to. Stem cells are the only cells in your body that can repair every other type of tissue. They are the biological reserve tank of your body. When they disappear, the thing we call aging begins. Here is the part that matters. It is not time that ages you. It is the loss of these cells. Time is just the unit we use to measure it. Picture your body as a city. Stem cells are the construction workers. As long as enough of them are around, damage gets repaired before you notice it. When the workers slowly disappear, the damage accumulates. That is not aging as a concept. That is a measurable biological reality. The pharmaceutical industry understood this. They invested billions over the last 20 years into synthetic stem cell therapies. A single session costs between $8,000 and $12,000. It works. Sometimes, for the very few people who can afford it. But the research I'm about to walk you through was done with a food you can find in any American grocery store, and the results were comparable in many measurable ways. The problem is simple. You cannot patent a root vegetable. Nobody's going to run advertising for it. Nobody's going to put it on a pharmacy shelf because there's nothing to sell. It was just always there. In every garden, in every traditional kitchen, in every farming culture on this continent. In 2020, researchers at Chonbuk University in Korea published a study in the journal Molecules. They isolated a compound that exists in meaningful amounts in only one plant. They called it beta-vulgarin. What they found was unusual enough that they double-checked the entire methodology. Beta-vulgarin directly activates a biological switch called Stat3 Sox2. Stat3 Sox2 is not just any gene. It is the master mechanism that tells your body to produce new stem cells. It is also the switch that powers down with age. The question that researchers had been trying to answer for decades was simple. Why does it shut down, and can you turn it back on? Most substances that worked in test tubes did nothing inside a living organism. Beta-vulgarin was different. It worked in both. Picture Stat3 Sox2 as a dimmer switch in a room. When you're young, the light is fully on. With every decade, somebody slowly turns the dial down a little more. What beta-vulgarin does is turn that dial back up in adult cells, in healthy tissue, without the side effects documented in the study. This is the part most people will not believe the first time they hear it. A compound in a normal food does what the pharmaceutical industry has been trying to replicate synthetically for 20 years. The answer for why it works has to do with the plant itself. It produces beta-vulgarin to protect itself from oxidative stress in the soil. We just inherited the same defense by eating it. Before I name the plant, a quick note. If this knowledge matters to you, the simplest way to keep it alive is to subscribe and hit the bell. This is where we dig up what the research documents, but nobody promotes. Now back to what they buried. The plant is the beetroot, Beta vulgaris, the same root your grandmother probably cooked every Sunday, the same root that lost over 60% of its consumption in the United States since 1970. It was not banned, it was just no longer marketed. And what got marketed instead was breakfast cereal, processed foods, things that can be patented and sold at scale. The only food that has been linked in peer-reviewed research to direct stem cell activation was slowly removed from the average American plate and replaced with foods that the same research links to stem cell suppression. That was not an accident, but that is a story for a different video. Back to the science, because this is the part that genuinely surprised the field. Stem cells are not all the same. There are three main types in your body. Hematopoietic stem cells renew your blood. Mesenchymal stem cells renew your tissue. Neural stem cells renew your brain. Beta-vulgarin acts on all three, but especially on the hematopoietic cells in your bone marrow. That is the source of your entire immune system. When those cells fail, everything fails. Your wound healing, your infection defense, your ability to recover from a normal day depends directly on this one cell population. Before we go deeper into the research, drop a comment and tell me what state you're watching from. I'm curious how many people across the country are rediscovering this hidden science at the same moment. A separate study at the Korean Institute of Radiological and Medical Sciences showed something remarkable. Beetroot extract improved the survival of hematopoietic stem cells under oxidative stress by 44%. 44%, with normal food, no pills, no concentrate. Here is where it gets strange. The effect was dose-dependent. More beetroot meant better results, but only up to a specific point. The optimal dose came out to about 150 grams of cooked beetroot per day. That is one medium-sized root. More than that brought no additional benefit. One root, per day, for 7 days. That was the entire protocol of the Italian study. Nothing more was needed to produce measurable changes in the bone marrow of every participant. The research team expected to need months of intervention to see anything measurable. 7 days produced effects they were prepared to call a methodology error until they confirmed them 3 times. And that is only the first of 3 mechanisms working together inside this one vegetable. The second involves your mitochondria. The third involves how oxygen reaches your cells. But before I show you the other 2, you need to understand what Italian researchers discovered 2 years later when they repeated the study in human subjects. What they found in the blood tests on day 7 was not just a change in stem cells. It was a change in a completely different marker. A marker nobody had expected to find. A marker that is not even part of the original hypothesis. A marker that, according to every textbook, should not be able to shift in 7 days. And this one marker changes everything we thought we knew about aging.